Hey guys, and welcome back to NoBlandMakeup, where we do makeup and body paint tutorials, usually with a cosplay twist. And today, finally, I did another body paint. I haven't done one in a while, and they make me feel good, so yeah. I literally went to work, and I was, dare I say it, cheaper. It's a weird feeling for me. But, like I said, today we're going to be doing Spider-Woman, but before we get into that, today's video is sponsored by me. So I have a Teespring shop open. The link is down below. It's NoBland merch, so if you guys want to get hoodies, t-shirts, stickers, things like that, things of that nature, I'll have the link down below in the description. Now, I haven't done this style of video in a while. I'm going back to making this a comic book video, literally a comic book. So with that being said, we're gonna start off by drawing out the eye holes. Now, when you're doing any kind of like mask work like this, especially with superheroes, because they usually have like one big area of one color and then you have the darker colors to kind of give you your shading and everything like that, it's easier to do the lighter colors first and then go over with the darker colors, just because the lighter colors tend to mix with the darker ones and then you wind up with orange when you really wanted yellow and red. As you can tell, this was a recurring theme while I was doing this. But we're going to start off with the white, drawing out her eye holes. I also made sure to go over my lashes and everything very carefully. This isn't like the Hulk video I did where I basically pretended my face wasn't there and just hid it in the makeup. This one I kind of couldn't do that with. There was no getting around it. So if you're worried about putting face paint in your, or that close to your eye, you can always use like white eyeshadow and stuff like that. And I did actually go back and set the paint that was on my lid with a white eyeshadow, just because I know from experience that body paint creases on my eyeballs. It is what it is. For the record, I started this at about 6 in the morning, and I think I'm a lot funnier than I actually am. Go figure. So the next part we're going to do is to start outlining the rest of the mask. I'm not going to color it in just yet, just because there's other things I have to do, but I'm going to start doing the outline. So the actual part that's going to be around the nose and leaving a space for the big yellow triangle that's going to be on her forehead. And speaking of triangles, there it is! So this is one of those things that I was mentioning in the beginning of the video, where you should use the lighter colors first. Yeah, there's some spots in that triangle that are really orange. It'll also help a little bit if you accidentally make it too big, or there's a side that's a little uneven. You can go over with the red and it kind of hides it a little bit better than trying to go over it with yellow, or you know, you could always wipe it off, but I'm not into the making my life easier thing apparently. Now once you have all the other shapes that are going to be on this mask done, you're going to very carefully outline in red and then just fill everything else in. Like I said, we're going to be using the darkest colors last, so when we do the outlines for the actual eye holes and any shading and everything like that in black, everything else is going to be done and you don't have really anything to worry about, unless you put too much water in your black body paint and then it starts dripping down your face, which I have also done many a time. So if you do it, you're not the only one, and I'll probably do it again right after this video. And once we have everything filled in, we're going to work on outlining everything. So when you're doing this, keep in mind that this is going to be one of the most important parts and the most difficult to clean up if you happen to drip some black body paint all over your face. Been there, done that, it's a pain. So if you can avoid it, I would highly suggest you do that. But you're going to start off, I would try to do thinner lines, and then if you need to thicken them up a bit, you can go ahead and do that afterwards, because that's another thing. It's a lot easier to make something thicker than it is to make it thinner. And yeah, I think that's all the useful information I have. Now, once we've got all of that done to make it a little more realistic, we're gonna be adding some highlights. I started off with just a white eyeshadow, anything that would not naturally, but anything that would be seen as a highlight, any high point of the face, and since this is a mask, you know where those high points are. And I'm also gonna contour under the mask with more of a bronzer just to make it look like there's something there, and also to contour my face, because superheroes without fail have like perfect chiseled everything, and I do not. I was not born that way. And then once I've done that, I'm gonna go back in and highlight a little bit more, this time with some concealer on anything that I would normally highlight. I did kind of take a little liberty with that one because I was looking at a picture of Spider-Woman that I'll have linked in my blog if you guys are interested for that. But yeah, so basically anywhere that your face would naturally have light hitting it, that's where you're going to highlight. Anywhere that you would have a shadow, that's where you're going to contour. Next trick, we're gonna do an ombre lip, but in multiple parts. So yeah, I started off by putting a Your Lips But Better color on the mouth, letting it dry, and moving on to other stuff because I don't have time to let things dry. I need to keep it moving. All headphone users, I'm sorry. But then I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit more outlining. This is gonna be around the face, also getting my hairline. That part actually isn't gonna matter as much because I'm gonna put on possibly the worst wig I've ever seen, but because of that I just want to make sure. Also, any expression lines or anything you want to add, this would be the time to do it. Next, we're gonna go a bit deeper on the contouring. This time I'm grabbing some black eyeshadow. If you're gonna use a loose pigment, little, long way. If you watched any of my videos, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna apply that on essentially anything that I want to be shadowed. Just something to give me a little bit more dimension. Just make sure to blend it out really, really well. So on the bottom part of the mask, around the face, anything that you would have a shadow on. So remember about that ombre lip we were talking about a while ago? Yep, let's get back to that. So what I'm gonna do is outline my lips in black, since, you know, comic book look, I'm gonna go with the theme. Then once I have that done, I'm gonna apply some black eyeshadow to the corners, lightly, very blended. If you're not comfortable using black eyeshadow for this, you want to make it a little bit less in your face, you can always grab like a darker pink or red, something like that, something that is just darker than whatever color you're doing on your lips, and apply that on the outer part of the lip. There's like 8 million ways to do an ombre lip. This is how I'm choosing to do mine. It is what it is. And as is the rule of contouring and highlighting, anything that you shade, you're going to want to add a highlight to it, balances it out, gives it a little bit more dimension, and that's kind of how contouring is actually supposed to work. If you're ever curious about why they say you have to do both, that's why. Now, once you've done all that, you've finished the face. If you just came here for the mask part, congratulations, you're done. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. If you came for the rest of it, here we go. Paint yourself red. That's it for a while. Yeah. You're just literally gonna paint yourself red. Tips for this, take your time, make sure that you give yourself a second to dry so you can see what areas need a little bit more paint over them. Try using a sponge too. Those actually work a little bit better than brushes when it comes to larger areas, I find. I don't know, I like them a little bit better, but that's just me. you know, with the brush, I always feel like I get kind of like streaky lines in some parts, and like some parts are super opaque and then other parts are like opaque but it's not as dark as the other one. Sponge tends to give you a little bit more of an even coverage. The reason why I didn't use one, all that being said, is because mine was painted with other things and I didn't want to clean it. Yep, that's it. Laziness got to me. But that being said, if you can, go for a body painting or face painting sponge. You might get a better result. I liked it when I did it in my Hulk video, so there's that. Alright, so now that we used up a ridiculous amount of red body paint, we're gonna start adding more details to the neck, shoulders. There wasn't a lot of like muscle detail as far as the arms go. If you want to add that in though, you totally can. I kind of skipped on it because I like to recreate comic book characters as they are. You don't have to do that. It is what it is. She had a very like muscly neck though, so that was interesting. One good way to kind of figure out where your lines, I guess, should go is moving your head and your shoulders around, kind of making your collarbones stick out so you can see where you're going to put those lines, moving your neck around to see what pops out. Pretend you're the Hulk for a little bit, see what happens. So that way you can get these baselines down and then you can go in and add some shading and stuff afterwards to give it more dimension. Now once you're done adding your lines, you're going to start shading and highlighting. Now this is what's really going to make it pop a lot more and look more comic booky. I feel like, because I've done a lot of comic book looks, obviously if you guys have been here or take a stroll around my channel, you've seen a few of them, but I've also done some like older cartoon ones, and the difference between like how realistic each one looks, even though they're both cartoon styles, is really noticeable when you look at the shading and highlighting that I do for the comic book characters as opposed to not really doing that for some of the other ones. It doesn't look bad, but it looks more three-dimensional even though it's a two-dimensional character, if that makes any sense. Alright, so if you made it this far, you, my friend, are a boss. I hope you brought some snacks. It's almost over, I promise. So the next part we're gonna do is another easy thing. Paint your hands yellow. Be careful though, because you are going right on the red, and we already explained how I feel about using lighter colors over darker colors. Why I keep torturing myself, I don't know. But you're gonna paint your forearm? I don't know. You're gonna paint your arm that's not painted red and your hands all yellow. Now once you're done with that, give yourself a bit of time to dry off. Waving your hands around in the air helps. Getting a fan works even better. Once that is dry, then you're going to apply some black body paint on the outline of where the red and the yellow mix, or meet. It's not supposed to mix, but whatever. Where they meet, and you're also going to outline your hands and all that stuff. And basically you're done. So yeah. And all that's left to do is put on the worst wig I've ever seen. God, this thing is horrible. It's kind of bald, but that's okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe to see what comes out of my channel next, and leave me a comment down below letting me know who your favorite superhero is, and maybe, and there's a very good chance that maybe I will do a video on them in the future. Let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.